afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Thursday, January the 15th, 2026. U.S. stock market has just been closed for about 5 minutes right now at the time I'm recording this. This is going to be a really short podcast because honestly, there's not a lot that we need to go over today. Stock market had a good, solid day, but it did give up. The three major indexes did give up a lot of their daily gains. Start out here with the NASDAQ, and you can see that after being up really nicely for a good portion of the day, that last hour of trading was rough. It gave up a lot in this last hour, and just at the very tail end, last few minutes that it was open, tried to eke back just a little tiny bit of that. Same thing with the Dow, and the same thing with the S&P 500. They were all up more than where they finished. It just, last hour of trading was just plain and simply a rough hour for the three major indexes. But in spite of that, a relatively good, solid day. Not anything spectacular. The Dow spent a lot of time today, well up over 300 points. The Dow, I think, after a really kind of a big sell-off in that last hour, kind of maybe not as deep a sell-off in that last hour as the NASDAQ had. So still finished up at a decent place, but it was up 350 or more points at one point in time today. So gave up a little bit of those gains, but nothing horrible. If you look at a chart of any of these three indexes, you can see that just kind of like we talked about the other day, we had a little dip here, we rallied. There was a little bit deeper dip here, there was a rally. Little dip here, maybe, today. And if there's an update tomorrow, you see it as the start of another little rally. And I suspect that any and all of the three indexes could rally to new highs as early as tomorrow or Friday, just depending on what kind of news breaks. The biggest news of the day today that really had the NASDAQ up significantly at the beginning of the day had to do with Taiwan Semiconductor's earnings. They had a massive earnings beat, good outlook, good guidance. Everything about that report was fantastic. And it kind of showed for that entire chip industry that the demand is still there. It's still a healthy industry. The AI demand is still strong. And then Taiwan later announced a $250 billion investment in U.S. chip making over a new trade deal. So those were really the drivers behind this good stock market today. That, along with a drop in oil prices that happened primarily because President Trump overnight or early this morning, you can see a 4% drop today on oil. And that is I think that's the WTI, the West Texas oil, WTI crude, or almost 5% drop on that today. And Brent oil, which is, I think, basically the rest of the world. I might be wrong on that. ICE Brent is in the Intercontinental Exchange, also down 4.5%. So that was big that oil was down, and that helped rally the Dow because some of the fear, President Trump announced that he's got no immediate plans or any plans at all of striking Iran. There was some concern about that, and just sort of taking that off the table in a somewhat more official way helped the markets to rally. All right. The only thing we really need to discuss as far as our open trades, because we had a great day with, we closed out Taiwan Semiconductor today, closed out Palo Alto Network trade. Our triple play trades, we only have open Coin right now. And unfortunately, Coin got hit hard today. This is not accurate right here. But because we closed our put side of Coin today, this morning, right at the open, it looked like we were going to have a chance to get out of Coin, and they were actually, they started the day just a fraction down, and then they were up a little bit, and it looked like we were on our way to getting out of the trade with some profit. And then there was a report that came out, and you could see how far off the cliff this fell. Coin up a little bit at the start, fell a little bit, climbed back up a little bit, having a decent day, not a super strong, but a decent day. And then with an hour, little more than an hour left to trade, it literally just fell off a cliff. Now, the good news is it bounced a little bit in that last 30 minutes or so that the market was open. And if you look at a chart of coin, you can see that it went right down and tested its strongest level of support and then got a little tiny bounce off that level of support. Right there is where the most visible, visual support is. And it got a little bit of bounce off of there. We rolled our call side of the trade out a week. We sold the put side. I believe I got 90 cents on the put side, and it cost me 20 cents to roll the call side. So I'm net 70 cents a share better than where I entered the trade, meaning I don't need this trade to go up a long ways to get back to a break even or a profit. But this was a big, ugly move, and the trade is down right now. And when I fix this spreadsheet, you'll see that it's down a pretty good margin. In spite of that, I think we'll still show overall profitability on the triple play stuff, and the spread trade stuff is looking fantastic. So if you're in the coin trade, hang in there. We'll see what happens over the weekend because Bitcoin trades 24/7. We'll see what happens over the weekend, and we'll see what happens at the open on Monday, and kind of get a feel for where to go with this. Like I said, it bounced a little bit from its lowest point of the session, and then it's up just a tiny bit after market. Gave up $16.50 today. To think that in a couple of days next week it couldn't get back that much or more, it is absolutely ludicrous. It could easily get that back. We'll give it a day or two and see if we need to adjust it into maybe a bear call spread. But other than that, everything we have open did well today. Everything, I believe, was to the upside today. On the spread trade side of things, NVIDIA had a decent day. We got some back there. Closed CAT for a really nice profit today. Walmart, they might have finished the day just a tiny bit down, but they were up most of the day. That trade is looking good. Amazon is looking good. I mean, a couple of these trades that we had open at the end of last year, we've still got a little ways to go to make up for what we lost on them last year. But for year to date this year, they're looking really good and doing really well, with the exception of NVIDIA. I still am very optimistic on NVIDIA, so I'm not discouraged at all. Last thing really quickly, we made an adjustment to APLD today. We rolled out our long puts since they were going to expire tomorrow. There's only a couple of pennies left in them when we rolled them out. We added new long puts out in February near the money. In fact, they're right at the money basically. And then we also added a short put a couple weeks out from right now, a little bit lower in strike, and we'll keep a close eye on that. If APLD starts to dip, they were off a little bit today, but not anything that I'm worried about. If they dip a little bit and come back down, 33, which is not too far away from where they're at, but if they come down, look like they're going to cross below that, we'll just roll that short put out and down, and we'll be absolutely fine. I told you I thought APLD would probably range between 35 and 40 for a little while. I think maybe for another week and a half until other tech companies start to report earnings. I think if you see some strong earnings reports from the other companies, and if they talk about continued AI demand and specifically continued demand for data centers, that's when you'll see APLD maybe break this 40 mark. And if they break the 40 mark, they're really going to take off to the upside. Number of analysts have them with a target up near or over 100 for the end of this year, which would be almost, triple, double, more than double, almost triple where they're at right now. So I'm in that camp. I think 100 is not out of reach for APLD by the time this calendar year is over. So not worried about that trade at all, even though they had a little bit of an off day. Like I said, everything else looking, and they are still profitable. We are still very profitable on that trade, but everything else looking really good today. And the collar trade rollout on APLD just protects us in case there is a little bit more of a dip. We were back in the green a little bit on CoreWeave. Now we're down a little bit. NVIDIA looking good. Palantir is looking good. Snap down a tiny fraction, but nothing to worry about there. SoFi and Uber both looking really good. We got some great profit going in collar trades, a lot of good protection there. And I like where everything is at a couple weeks into this year. I'll be back online tomorrow at the close of the market to wrap up the week. In the meantime, hope everybody had a great Thursday and hope you have a great Friday. Thanks. Bye-bye.